There you are.
Here I am.
Okay. Well, welcome to a Hangout. I'm Lori.
Thanks. Oh, hi.
You get to
Okay.
meet me in real time now, not just in the
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I think maybe I'm going to pull you from the big monitor to the little monitor. Hold on. There we
Okay.
go. Okay, now I can look right at you. That's better.
Okay, cool. And I'm looking at you. Um, okay, so thanks for agreeing to do this on last minute notice because I was going to do this one of our Urfa Girls episodes tonight with Ashley, but she got caught up doing a lot of things. So thanks for being able to join me. I just wanted to sort of impromptu discuss a couple of things that have been going on in the Flat Earth community this week.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah, it's always good to, just keep fresh and keep talking about it so that months from now we can come back and rewatch these things and remember where we were at certain times and laugh and say, wow, I remember when, only a few million people were talking about flat Earth, and now a few billion people might be talking about flat Earth. So, um,
There's a heady quality to it that it's
yeah, there
dynamic
definitely is.
and unfolding so quickly, just day to day, watching it.
Yeah, well, I mean, for example, as you know, just from being in the, most of the activity that people are paying attention to is going on in the groups, all the flat Earth groups. And just a few months ago, if you put in your Facebook search box, for example, flat Earth anything, you might be able to find one or two. Now how many do you think we have?
New ones every day on Facebook alone.
Yeah.
Facebook alone. I don't know, 1,200.
No kidding. You think there's that many?
I don't know. I'm totally guessing. I mean, it's kind of viral. So there's got to be several hundred, right?
I think I mean I believe so because I mean I'm have four under my admin,
I'm on
control.
like 15. I'm on like 15.
No, I mean me personally, I created four.
Yeah.
So I don't even I've lost count of how many I belong to. I can't even keep track of them all. But that's what's kind of cool because now they're branching off into I don't know as I necessarily would call it cults or sects or any of that, but people are kind of micro defining maybe something. Christian this, Muslim that,
Hmm.
the sacred geometry stuff, activity groups.
Yeah.
One of the groups that I just created, and I haven't really started to push it yet, was Free Our Flat Earth, which is a campaign-based group, meaning
Yeah, I'm in
when
that one.
we get to the point where we can organize some volunteers and we can, actually create some strategies that we can all work on together and things like that. But so that's I'm kind of campaigny like that. So
Mhm.
that's one of the ideas that I've had. Plus our experiment group, Do Your 20. That's another one. I think you're in that, aren't you?
I'm in
Do
that
you?
one as well. Yeah.
Okay. So that one is based on individuals and groups doing experiments all over the country and all over the world. And we have people in there from Australia, and there's one from I don't remember the country, but they're going to be doing some experiments in the Sahara Desert, which is very cool. So one of
Yeah.
the things that you've helped with one of the things that you've helped with that I want you to kind of discuss a little bit is some way over my head stuff called mathematical equations and how to figure curvature and things like that. So tell me what you're working on.
Well, I wanted to draw it when I was first studying it about 3 months ago. It's just been like 3 months for me. So I said I got to draw this in AutoCAD, I have really nice software. So I drew it to scale and checked it out, just basically proving that a ball is round, but also in the process producing a chart that people could read that shows what the drop is, or what the drop allegedly is, as you look out the horizon. And this doesn't really happen, but I made the chart and I called it an imaginary ball Earth and a Pythagorean proof of of curvature drop, of how much the horizon is supposed to drop. And a lot of the evidencia that's being brought forward by independent experimenters, like we're talking about, is supporting very much that there is no drop. There's no drop in the horizon, and all you do is increase magnification, and poof, your target reappears. It's not sinking over the horizon. This is self-evident. This is repeatable. This is provable, and we're going to bring this forward in a lot of ways. And that's going to be very much a part of what propels this forward, I think. So I think it's very forward-thinking to have a group that addresses the political aspect and the experiment aspect. And there are also many other areas that this could metastasize into as the movement kind of takes form and takes off. Just what I think I'm seeing. I mean, I'm thinking some of these groups could reach huge numbers of members by fall.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how things continue to play out over the next few critical weeks and months. It's been a really interesting couple of months politically, and
politically. I've got myself caught up in a little bit of that political stuff myself, with things where you get called shill-spicious, or people pointing fingers and say this is a shill, that's an agent, and it's actually comical on one hand, and serious, very serious on the other hand, in that when you have such a new movement and so obviously grassroots. I say this all the time. People will say, well, this is some government psyop that was created as a distraction for blah, 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 whatever. And
these are all actors, and these aren't really people. And this is all being done to just slow you down in your quest for finding the real killers.
Right. Okay. But what the interaction is quite a distraction to many people, and that wouldn't be happening if this were not so real and so grassroots and so viral. Because once you wake up and realize that you're not living on a ball anymore, and you go through the week or two long associated cognitive dissonance that occurs when you first wake up to this theory, and then you go through this period of complete and utter bewilderment, freedom, a childlike wonder of wanting to re-explore.
Yeah, that awe at the stillness and the newness, looking around from the perspective of someone who's no longer spinning and isn't hurtling along multiple spiraling vectors.
I'm not spinning anymore, so I can really focus on something.
Imperiled at all times by this fragile, delicate state of spinning and delicate balance with planetary forces and atmospheric things that could happen, and asteroids that could impact us, and so on, and poles that could slip, and all these types of things that frighten people. And also, just gone. And there I was in a very still place, and that was what I wanted to speak to, was that kind of like beautiful stillness that I get to embrace from the perspective of a flat Earth thinker.
Right. Well, and think about it this way: once you get into this place where you start doing the research and you start looking on your own, and usually there's a pretty good percentage of people that get it really quickly. There's a larger percentage of people that get it via trying to debunk it, trying to discover the disproofs.
You know, Lori, it's not the same as it was 20 years ago or 15 years ago. It's a new generation of people that are familiar with alternative media and have been around it for a decade or more, like some of us. And they can make the transition. They can make the psychological leap. It's still a leap, but it's not, you know, devastating leap. And I think for other people, it's shocking. It's a bit of a mental trauma for them, and they have a hard reaction. I've had friends that receive this kind of conversation really well, and others that don't. And I can't really say I know who's going to react how. I mean, it just kind of has to unfold.
Well, and also, once people get to a certain point of they're all in, you know, or they're like just 75% plus all in, okay, there's still lots of questions. I don't know how the sun sets, and I don't know why the moon is over there, and I don't know, you know, there's lots of things they don't know, because that's the next version of the job that we have before us, is we have to reinvent science, right? We have to reinvent what our reality is.
It's certainly not an end. You know, like, oh, you want to cul-de-sac us into this flat Earth disk or infinite plane or whatever it is with a dome on it or some kind of force field over it or whatever, and you know that's just isn't the it to them is like a stopping of all this energy, and I think it's true. There's a stopping of this spinning, of this kind of like being reliant on someone else to be okay. This idea that we're really in a fragile state, and the truth is we're not. At least not in that way. There might be other things going on, and I think that's when the conversation opens up. That's when things.
Well, and that's also one of the good uses for becoming a member of a group, and that is you sort of find your tribe. You sort of find some other people that you can have open and friendly conversation with about what's going on and what you're learning and what you yet need to learn. And you have the opportunity to meet with other people who, you know, don't call you crazy, don't belittle you, and try to defend the ball to you. So that's sort of a part of the transition, is finding some other people that have like mind in that one particular area. And then the next thing that that most people, you know, sort of have a proclivity for, is to try to do some proofs of their own that they can do, that they can show other people, their friends, family, whatever. I mean, I personally know of people who, you know, one guy's parents, they're kicking him out of the house because they just can't stand thinking that he's this crazy flat earther, and that he needs to, you know, get away from them. So here's what's going to be happening, I feel, over the next several months. There's going to become a cumulative effect of people doing research, people doing proofs, tests, experiments. I did one myself last Friday as a perfect example. We went out to test some telescopes to see if we could see across the bay at Tampa, and it was really humid and really hot, and the water makes these horrible waves and above the water, and you can't focus the telescope for your life.
I was talking on the phone earlier today with Stephen. For the first time, we actually talked on the phone. He told me about what happened with the experiment and the haze over the water and how discouraged he was by it. But then him and Brian Mullins are going to go out to Lake Kahnke. They're checking that out. They're going to see if that's going to give them maybe some more favorable conditions, either early or late in the day. Through the discussion groups, they've hooked up with a surveyor, a really nice guy, who's giving them tips. He's did 5 years as a party chief down there in Florida. He knows all about it. So like you're saying, the discussion groups are amazing. Things are very dynamic, and I also agreed very much with what you posted about how we all need to become experimenters and apply ourselves to bringing forward our own proofs and our own evidence. However simple they may be, it could be as simple as just taking your digital camera and going down to the dock.
Right. Well, and what's really cool about that is, it's bringing back our childlike ability or mentality to explore our world. When we're little kids, when you're a little baby, the first thing you do when your parents set you free from the playpen or the bouncy hangy in the doorway swingy thing, the first thing you do is you take off crawling down the hallway and you stick your finger in the socket and you just do all of these childlike explorer things. And then for the last
instinct.
Absolutely. And then, for years and years now, we've all been totally inundated with entertainment and brain-filling, brain-numbing stuff, information, Dancing with the Stars, football games. And so, that whole explorer thing has been sort of fluorided out of us, or for lack of a better word. So now, one of the steps that you go through when you're so-called waking up is you find alternative media, you turn off the TV news, as time goes by, you decide that, wow, I've been lied to, and then you learn a bunch of new stuff, and then you do some research on your own, and you get in groups and you do all these things, and then you learn something like, hey, by the way, the earth is flat, it's not a spinning ball. Then you're like, well, holy crap, now I got a whole bunch more stuff to learn, because now, this and that and the other that I knew, that I thought I knew, is all wrong. It's all wrong.
All on the table. Electricity, history, you name it. Just, there's so many directions to go. Exploration. Wouldn't that be nice if we were allowed to explore? If they were actually
truly allowed to explore. You think about it, between all of the nation states, the boundaries, the barriers, the flags, the armies, the militaries, the passports,
and
you add it all up, you can't go diddly anymore. You got to get permission to do everything. And now add to that, let's talk about the Antarctica. If anybody that's watching this that doesn't know about the flat Earth map, you need to pause this and you need to go look up what a flat Earth map looks like, what the azimuthal, equidistant flat Earth map looks like. And what it looks like is that there's a dot in the center that is considered the magnetic North Pole, and every place you head away from that point is considered south. Everywhere. If you're walking straight line, away is south. And, people say, well, what keeps all the water from falling off the edges and all that? Well, okay, asked and answered. There's an ice barrier all the way around the outside that holds everything in. The part we don't know about, and that is mysterious and that cannot be defined, is what happens after you keep going south for like a long time. And are you going to run into a wall? Are you going to run into a glass dome? Or are you going to run into another geothermal pond like we live in?
Yeah, are we in a geothermal pond, and sooner or later we're going to have to be showing what's going on. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what actually is out there and what actually is going on, because it's obviously been hidden from us for decades and decades, for my entire lifetime. And
why do you think that is?
I don't consent to that. I'm not happy about that. So.
And why do you think they're hiding it?
Greed, control, fear. Their fear of change, of sharing, of not being special anymore. Death.
Creating a sense of scarcity for control.
Yeah, scarcity. Yeah, absolutely.
So why do you think that one of the first things you learn about when you wake up to the flat Earth is you learn about the Antarctica Treaty and about the fact that this has been going on for 50 plus years, and that all of these nation states that are a party to the treaty have all agreed, aside from all the other geopolitical crap and war talk and arguing about who gets nuclear weapons and all the other crap. Why do you think they're able to shake hands and have tea together over Antarctica, but doesn't seem to be with anything else? Money and Antarctica. Those are like the two things. The world scholar and the.
Here's what I can't figure out: is how does Norway get a chunk? Norway's got a big chunk. I'm like, how did you guys do that? Anyway, so yeah, look, the whole thing, if it's based in deception, it's null and void anyway. So there's 51 nations now, I think. So there's 51 chivalrific reasons to suppress flat Earth truth from coming out, and we can talk a little bit more about the science. We can talk a little bit more about the electromagnetic theory, the electric flat Earth.
Yeah, do it. Go there, because that's.
I'm new to it, so it might be good.
My head.
It might be good as someone who's new to it. I did do some alternative energy research in the 90s. That's kind of what got me into the alternative movement. And I just made some connections between that and like looking at the sun as being like an electromagnetic transducer and how it's perfect shape to act that way, to diffuse charge between an electrical plate and a force field, like an exterior force field, whatever's charging the electroplate. The sun is the transducer between, and the moon may be functioning in a related way, like in a positive minus pole, a cathode anode arrangement. So it makes sense on a flat plane, but if you never think of it as a flat plane, it would never occur to you. If you think you're spinning around on a ball your whole life, it would never occur to you to put it together. So after a while, for me, after, I don't know, 2 or 3 months of studying flat Earth, it suddenly snaps in my mind because of some things that were going on with Google Hangouts and in discussion groups, exactly like we were talking about, that this is electromagnetic, that this is an electric system. It's a beautifully balanced, like a clockwork electromagnetic system, and it's gorgeous and it's mysterious, and there's a lot we don't know, like about the moon and its libration and its cycling, and just so many interesting things are coming up. So that's currently what I'm studying, is that part of it, because it's the most fun. That's where I enjoy studying. And I've gotten involved with you a little bit on the political side because I've just found that to be necessary. And I have some experience and background with ethics and communication. So I wanted to put my 2 cents in there where I could.
Well, when you think about how the world works with the system that we currently are in, we have bankers and lawyers and Indian chiefs, and we have states and governments, and we have this whole ecosystem of modern civilization. And people say, well, what will it be like when the Earth is flat? It's like, the Earth has always been flat. It just didn't suddenly become flat, okay? It's always been flat. So when the people decide to agree that the Earth is in fact flat, and that has ramifications associated with it, that says, okay, well, if it's always been flat, why did they lie? And okay, I'm sure we'll all deal with that at some point in the future when we find the guy who's at the top of the pyramid, who's giving the orders for all of the minions who are doing all of the compartmentalized parts of keeping the fake system hidden or operating or whatever. But at the point in time when we all discover, finally, and admit, and there is an apocalyptic moment, where the the Earth is flat and we're all just going to have to go there. Okay.
Yeah. We don't have that agency. We don't have that agency because we don't know. We don't know where we are because they've kept us spinning. So as long as we're spinning like that, we can't touch them. We can't get to them because we don't know where we are. So until we know where we are, we can't do anything about them. But once we know where we are, like you say, the day it happens, the day the 100th monkey knocks on our door and informs us that flat Earth has been freed, then those things will change rather quickly. And I think that it's a good idea to focus on the experimentation and on the discussion and on the discovery and on the wonder.
Well, yeah, because here's the deal. It doesn't have to happen via some rebellion. It doesn't have to happen via some revolution. No violence, no critical mass, no real negative.
No, we're not calling for the negativity. We're not calling for the blood splatters or the violent messages or the get angry.
Or the Jake Blaster kind of mentality is like, nah, we're not going there.
Let's blame this group. Let's blame that group.
Right.
I think that the real core, the center of the movement, and I'll call it that, is one of discovery and exploration and sharing, and is at its core very positive.
Yeah, I mean it's an awakening because each of us goes through an awakening when we discover this new information, and so I don't know one person yet that is staying angry. There's kind of a little moment that you go through, that, like the Kubler-Ross. Death, whatever that you go through, whatever it's called.
I think there's a little outrage.
Well, sure, and justifiably so, because nobody likes being lied to, nobody likes being punked, and so once you, but once you get past that, you decide, well, I'm just really not going to let that bog me down. I'm going to pursue a positive movement with this, and so like you with your abilities, your natural innate way your brain works, you went off into a math field. You started trying to discover numbers associated with it, or how to break it down where, okay, they made a ball. They made everybody believe it, so it must be really close to believable, and this is how they did it. And so in order to reverse engineer the ball, you have to be able to do the math the way they did it, to reverse, to take it apart. Like you've got an old lawnmower and it's broken and it doesn't work anymore, and you think, well, I know that if I take this all apart and I lay the parts out all nice and in order in the garage, and then I can fix it and put it all back together without too many nuts or bolts left over. And so that's part of one of the creative things that people are trying to do, is saying, how did they fool us so well with this ball? And it has to be with the math.
Because they never show us the whole lawnmower at once, Lori.
No.
They never show it assembled and running. They say, here's a piece over here. This is our future.
I mean, even all their images that they give us from NASA are all composites, right?
Yeah, you chuck a tin foil. It's as an engineer, it's so insulting to see the way it's presented. If they were like my interns showing me their process, I would smack them down. They would get chewed out for such sloppy work. But it's NASA, so we have to assume that they're somehow dealing with problems that are so complicated that they can't even make a clear presentation.
Of course. Okay, so here's what's happening now, right? Okay,
so hard.
There are those of us who are going, they're really not going to be able to keep this lie going very much longer, because we're on them. I mean, we're like right there, nipping at their heels, okay? And we have been for some time now, right?
And we're pulling up all this 40 and 50-year-old evidence and putting it on overlays and making comparisons and notes and passing it around and forming groups, and they had no way of anticipating that, and yeah, it blows the whole thing out of the water.
Okay, so don't you think what they're doing right now is they're doing they're setting the script, They're changing the plot, and they're going to disassemble their own fake crap. They're going to tear apart NASA.
Sure.
They're going to make
Like
it
it was
look
their
like
idea.
it's because it doesn't function
Yeah.
properly anymore.
Yeah, they're
They're going
gonna
to
do a whole.
privatize it.
They're going to do a whole, investigation of the real killers. They're going to go, oh, hey, look at this. This is a mess. We got to shut this thing down. And yeah, and then they'll take credit for give themselves medals. That would be their ideal scene, I think. And
Well,
then,
not only that, but think about this. At some point,
they could start over on an island somewhere where nobody's looking. I mean, that would be their ideal scene. But,
right. Well, I mean, okay, so if they disassemble on their own and they do this whole privatized thing, we're gonna turn it over to the private companies.
yeah,
Okay. Now, see, I'm no dumb sock. I didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday. I might not be able to keep up with you in the math department, but I'm going to tell you what. I know when a script is being written, and the script is being shoved from. We've been doing all this stuff. We're going to go to Mars, and we've been to the moon, and we're amazing. Then they're going to switch it over to private companies, and then what happens? There's no more Freedom of Information Act because there's no taxpayer dollars going directly into it. There's no way to question anyone because now it's a private corporation. I mean, when was the last time you got to go and have a conversation with the board of directors of McDonald's about how they're running their business? You don't get to do that unless you're a stockholder. Well, if you're a stockholder in SpaceX or whatever, okay, fine. But then the next part of the script will be, well, SpaceX is sending up these rockets to try to bring forth tons of new food and stuff to the space station that actually doesn't even exist either. Okay. And so the whole script is falling apart. So now they're having to rewrite the ending. And I'm sure they've already rewritten several different scenarios for their ending, because that's the way movie writers always do. We have this ending, and then we have the alternative ending. We'll probably just film them all, and then we'll decide which one sells in Peoria.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So
Plan B.
I think we're making them scramble, and I think we're sort of heading them off at the pass, and they're sort of having to circle the wagons, and that's why we're being inundated with agents and shills and fake accounts on Facebook trying to get in all the groups and trying to distract everyone, and then we have
It's like they're planning on being around for a while. They're planning on slowing the movement down. They're really throwing a lot of people. They're throwing a lot of resources at it, and that's obvious. And I'm not sure.
At the end of the day, what's the goal? The goal.
Yeah, I wish I knew what their plan was. In the meantime, all that is so separate and does take away so much from the wonder and the joy of studying the subject itself.
Well, it sure does, because I went off on an experiment with Stephen and Brian, and we were gonna, film across the bay and da-da-da, and then that went bust. And so while they were over there talking, I got out the video camera and I started following this stupid red cargo boat out across the bay down towards Tampa Port. And I thought, you know what? I know this thing's probably only going maybe 25 miles an hour. So it won't be that long before it's going to be out of my shot. So I'm just going to follow it, and I'm just going to let the film run so nobody can say, oh, you edited the film and you cut here and you did this. And I just yap. I mean, it's like historically one of the more boring films ever taken in the history of mankind. Okay. But what happened was I proved to my own self something that I had been questioning for quite some time. And that is the term. Is that your cat making that sound?
Yeah, my kitties are play fighting. They're fine.
Oh, it sounds like a baby's. It's hilarious. Okay, so one of the things that I've been questioning myself, because I'm an artist. I'm an artist by trade. I'm an artist by birth. And so, when I was in school, I was taught all about the horizon line and how to create perspective and how to copy something, as realistically as possible. And so you had to learn about vanishing points and you know, and depth perception and shadowing and all those things. Okay. So I'm standing there and I'm watching this boat in the camera, and I'm thinking, wow, this is that point where I can't see the bottom of the boat anymore, but it's right there. And so why can't I see it? And then I, you know, figured out that the horizon line is been hijacked to be called the line of curvature, where
Right.
something's going over the curve. Okay, and we just always bought that because that's what it looks like, you know.
We never had all this stuff. We never had all these cameras and zoom lenses and internet and video capture and all this. We never had all this. Yeah, now we're.
But now we have the tools to be able, you know, tools that they gave us. Thank you very much. And now we're going to use it back against your ass. And so, you know, as I watched this boat and I started seeing this mirror effect in the water, and then I started seeing the, you know, the boat replicated top and bottom, mirroring itself, and now all the red is gone, and you know, and this whole thing, I filmed all this, and I'm talking it through in my head while I'm doing it. I never thought that it would be some, you know, something anybody would ever watch unedited. So. But what I did was, it's just totally started me on, now I have this thing that I am absolutely convinced that I'm going to be the one, okay, that is going to change history, and I'm going to redefine the line of convergence. Okay, it's no longer going to be called the horizon line. It's going to be called the line of convergence.
Can we talk about how you can identify a shill in a Facebook forum, in a flat Earth group? You can tell a shill because nothing they're doing is empowering anyone, and what you're talking about right now is so empowering, and it was such an empowering thing that happened to you, and by you sharing it, you're empowering others, and you're waking people up.
Oh my gosh, 650 something people have watched the most boring video in the history of mankind on YouTube, right on this channel. 650 people and like 80 comments. Thank you so much. Oh, you did such a good job explaining that. And, you know, and they're sharing other videos with me in the comments. And it was just like, wow, you know, I love this because I never considered myself a scientist. I was always an artist, and they didn't ever really go together. I mean, I've been tested on like 90% right brained. I mean, what does that tell you? Okay. I can't add or subtract in my head because there's no connection on that side over there. But the one thing that I can do is I can combine the things that I've learned, the things that I know, and the things that I'm inherently, naturally able to do and see. And I'm combining those things together to come up with a way to explain something to other people that they maybe don't have the ability to see, like I can't see times tables in my head. You got me?
Yeah, I gotcha. That makes sense.
So you know, speaking of shills, okay,
yeah.
Shills, on the other hand, shills and other such internet varmints.
It's the opposite energy. It's just the opposite.
Yeah, they're just these energy vampires. You know, they come in your groups, they come in your conversations and your threads and whatever, and they just drop turds all over the place and make you just totally distracted. And then the next thing you know, maybe an experiment that you were going to do today or some research that you were going to look up online turned into 3 hours of then who did what, and then what, and then who, and then what they say, and who's doing that, and why are they here, and who are they, and who are they associated with. So, you know, I've been trying to educate people, and thank you, you know, you're like have been an inbox warrior for me or with me, to try to, you know, help define how do we pick them out faster so that we waste less time. Okay, how do we profile them?
I'm working on a document that I'll pass around to administrators that hopefully will help with that, with identifying certain traits and behaviors, because because
there's a science behind it.
Yeah.
People don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they hate being called out, and they hate being identified, because it kind of messes with their gig.
Well, not only that, but you know, not when they get called out, then their supervisors over there going, "Oh man, look what you now they're watching you, and now they're going to be watching everybody associated with
Well,
you."
you know, they deal with it. They play it like the slots, you know, and oh, that one didn't pan out, and they move on, and they can fire up multiple personas. Sometimes, sometimes they know
For
their
real.
secrets. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're working multiple topics. They cross pace. They have little bulleted things, and once they get familiar with shilling a certain subject, like they are now after several months on the flat Earth groups, they're getting to where they're passing around notes, and you're starting to see the same things pop up almost verbatim. You know, so those of us who are familiar with that will then blow the whistle, and usually they're gone pretty quickly.
Well, and then
Yeah, yeah, it's a
and
thing. It's a
then
thing we deal with.
you know, as each of these events happen, and now I've been identifying them as weekly. Weekly, there's major distraction, either by somebody like Eric Dubay, who will make a video and drop it, or somebody like Jeff Cash, who will make a video and drop it. And then days go by that, you know, it's just kind of keeps bubbling under the surface, and somebody, oh, I saw where somebody, and everybody's sending each other screen captures, and it's like a whole new Facebook that goes on behind the scenes. People have, you know, come in my inbox and they go, where the heck have you been? You know, we were always relying on you to give us truth information and alternative news. And, you know, I have thousands of friends and 500 plus followers on my Facebook because I've been a truther person for, you know, 6 years on Facebook, 8 years in reality. And so, you know, they're like, what happened to you? Oh, I'm a flat earther. Well, did you like fall off the flat earth? I mean, is that all you're doing now? And it's like, man, you have no idea. You have no idea. Your world is in slow motion compared to where mine's gone.
Right,
I mean,
right. That's
I
all
feel
you're
like,
doing is flat Earth. That's all you're doing.
yeah, I feel like Neo in the last scene of The Matrix, you know, where he's like stops the bullets and everything's in slow motion. Well, I feel like that now because I've risen above all of the trivialities of the individual parts of the truth movement to where I now see where they all start fitting into this pyramid, this food chain of control.
Cool.
And
yeah, it does reveal the control system, yeah, in a way that I don't think the powers that be are very happy about. I don't think they particularly wanted this coming out right now. I think that shows. I think there's a lot of reasons that they don't want it to be coming out. Most of them have to do with just plain old human greed. Although it could go darker, we don't need to go darker. I don't need to go looking for that kind of stuff.
right.
There's plenty of evidence.
Well, and I mean, they've spent a lot of years and a lot of money setting up this system and keeping it intact and keeping it, you know, well oiled.
Yeah, yeah. Long periods of time in which to fine-tune and maintain the machinery of control. That is very much what we're up against. But it also seems more like moving into a new milieu where it's just really not easy for them to cope. I think this is kind of moving into new territory for them, and I'm seeing them overwhelmed.
Yeah, they were thinking we were really close to Hunger Games right about now. And it's like, nah, I don't think so. We see you. You know, we're not going to let that just like happen. We're going to fight it all the way to the very end.
This nonstop thrust towards war and conflict and crisis and
Fear.
and financial threat.
Degradation. Fear, degradation.
Right.
Shame.
Right. And just so many people not buying it anymore. It's just it's kind of wearing off.
Well, I mean, do you realize how many people have literally, as much as is possible to still be in the Matrix, have removed themselves from the Matrix? I mean, there's an entire black market underworld of economy going on. There's
Yeah.
there's an entire reality.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
it's huge. The black market is huge globally and marketed to, and yeah, the dark webs.
You just said globally.
I did.
It's so hard to break.
Across the realm. I know, and it's still there.
Well, I mean, until we come up with practicing and repeating via the rote method certain words. I mean, there's certain words that I've just completely kicked out of my vernacular and my nomenclature, and now I'm trying to retrain myself to use a completely different vocabulary, and it's not easy because I've been working on this a lot longer than a whole lot of other people because I'm like older than most of the people in the movement, and so no, truly. So here's the deal, okay? One of the things that I'm working on, aside from experiments and trying to come up with explanations, simple explanations for things like, what is this and what is that, and why is this part a lie? But if you rethink it and look at it over here, like for example, Ashley, my sidekick in crime in my group, Ashley Webster, has been an ace at taking different ideas that people talk about within the groups and converting them to the azimuthal equidistant flat Earth map and showing you things that didn't make any sense the way they looked on the globe, how simplified they look on the flat Earth map. And you just go, wow, so how about that Coriolis effect? And then you realize that, everything's really is just swirling in the same direction, right?
Works better on a flat Earth model. Yeah, most things do.
And then you look at the sun and the moon and the old yin yang symbol of the two, and you realize, well, that's the path of the sun and this is the path of the moon, and gosh darn it, how simple was that?
And there's more, because whatever's occluding the moon is not the Earth.
No.
What is it? Is it another moon? What is it?
It's it's either A or B. It's either this is what I've concluded. Okay, it's either A or B. A is there's a black planet of some kind that's obscuring the moon that makes the curved shadow on it, or the moon is got some kind of a shuttering system inside of it or behind it that makes a curved shadow. So here's all these people. I mean, there's entire groups of people that are working on just like, what is the moon? How does the moon operate? How far away is it? What is it made out of? That's fascinating.
Yeah, is it transparent? What is it? Is it a
hollow? Is it a sphere? Is it a disc?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it make its own light, or is it is it reflecting the sun? I think it's both. I think it reflects the sun somewhat, but I also think that it has to be making its own light because its light is in a different wavelength than reflected sunlight.
Yes, and it has different scientific properties. Moonlight has different scientific properties, temperature properties. You can test it yourself with a thermometer in the shade in the evening and see for yourself. It's a different animal. It's not the same as sunlight. It's not the same as reflected sunlight. It's something else, and that doesn't get discussed.
And since we've never been there, we don't have any idea, right?
So there's so much to study. There's so much to figure out, and there's so much going on, and it's so exciting.
It is exciting. It's exciting, like I don't know a single solitary flat earther as I call them. I don't know a single solitary earther who is sleeping as much as they were before they found out about the flat earth. Not one.
Right. It's not a bedtime story. No, this one will keep you up. And it's sort of the conspiracy theory that keeps on giving, because it just keeps coming, more and more stuff keeps coming, and like you say, it gets to be like where everything else appears like it's going slower than the flat Earth world, even though that supposedly is the one spinning along, and we're the ones that are supposedly stationary and still.
Exactly.
I think there's something to be said about that stationary stillness and the energetic state that it brings about mentally for a person, and how it allows you to focus in a way that is better.
Well, yeah. I mean, do you think that? I mean, I'm just going to say this. There is no way in the world that 6 months ago I would have stood on a stinky beach in Tampa Bay, low tide. Ooh, bad. Okay, that I would have stood on a stinky beach in 94-degree heat with a video camera with sweat running down my face, watching a freaking boat, a freighter going 25 miles an hour. Da, 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 da. It's like, oh my God, come on. Just like, come on. And just so that I could catch it in its final moments before I couldn't see it anymore. And zooming in and zooming out and talking about what I'm seeing. I wouldn't have done that 6 months ago.
And look at the way people responded to you and been inspired by that and the feedback you've gotten. It's the same with the trigonometry chart that I made showing Mick.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let me tell you what. I have to say this because I mean, to me, people like you are phenomenal. Now, I know, lots of people who are sort of mathy and geeky and that stuff think artists are cool, okay? But I literally have a mathematical learning disability. I have never been able to learn to multiply numbers in my head like other people. I never learned my times tables, okay? That is very defining, or confining, I'm sorry, when you're growing up because, your grandfather's standing there with these flashcards, what is 7 times 8? And you're like, I don't know. And they go, well, what is 8 times 7? Well, you just did this. Like, I can't remember. I don't know. Okay. So I grew up in a different mindset than most other people. So when I first started seeing the chart of spherical trigonometry, just those words right there, just right over, like I'm never going to get this. Okay? Yeah. And then I kept at it. I really kept at it, and I thought I'm going to be able to get this. And then it dawned on me. It's just so simple. Okay. Why do you square the miles before you add how many inches per mile the drop should be? Because it's a sphere, it's not a slope. Okay, I got that. And then when I got the sphere versus the slope, which means we're going to go this way, we're not just going down a hill. Then when I got the squared, okay, why you square it? When I got that, and then the times 8 inches, which I know it's just a little bit less than that, right? Hi, Kitty.
Yeah, it's right about 8 inches. It's
okay, but I think it starts to sort of fall apart after 1,000 miles. It needs to be adjusted a little bit or something, right?
That method does fall apart by the time you get 1,000 miles out, which is
Does it really matter anymore what we're measuring? Okay.
Your error at that point is
so the miles squared.
Like 124.
We're talking about 4 miles. It's 4 times 4, okay? And then that number times 8 for the inches, and then that number divided by 12 to convert it to feet.
6.67 feet. Yeah. Yeah.
So I got that, all right? Do you know what a huge accomplishment that was? I was like, yeah, that's right. I'm bad. I got that. And here you are.
Yeah.
Making Excel spreadsheets out of it.
Yeah. Yes. And you'll never have a bit of trouble calculating the drop on flat Earth.
Exactly. We're going through all of this trouble to try to prove curvature.
Show
there isn't any.
Show them what they're allegedly standing on, because they don't know. I haven't met a baller yet that's been able to come forward and show me what I did and just say, here's what it is. Okay, I'm sure they're out there, but no, I haven't seen one yet. But I've had 100 of them come at me, calling me names, wishing that I never reproduced, things like that.
That don't breathe one. That is always rather annoying, because it's like, dude, you have no idea who ought not be breathing here. But okay, whatever.
Well, it's obvious which camp is suffering under mind control.
Well,
You're alone.
Okay, so in closing, because I think we've touched on all the major topics, and we're at a weekly update kind of thing. So we both know what we know. But in closing, where was I going with that? Gosh, that happens all the time.
We'll do it again. We'll talk more, and we'll talk about other stuff.
Well, yeah. Okay. Now, wait. I got it because it didn't go real far. The goal. Okay. Now I keep doing this in every video. I just do this whole little thing right here. Okay. This is the community of flat earthers. This is the community. These are the people. Okay. And this is the goal of what the community is supposed to be doing. Okay. Now most people will go, well, who are you to define what we're supposed to be doing?
Right. The messaging. Yeah. Why should you be the messaging person?
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep repeating free our flat earth until it's free. Okay. The only way to free our flat earth, and the only reason why we would want to, is because we're under a global control system that we don't
consent to, that we no longer consent to. Whatever consent was implied is revoked, and we serve notice that we're no longer spinning, and that we demand better science, and we demand evidence, and we demand better, just better, and certainly not to be dismissed or marginalized or have our right to free and peaceable assembly interfered with by paid shills who infiltrate our discussions, our conversations, our privacy.
Hey, by whom, by the way?
Yeah, it's really out of bounds. It's not okay. And I didn't get a chance to say also the Antarctic Treaty is void if it's based entirely in deception. If it's based entirely in deception, as it seems to be, 51 nations now, I believe, not 47. I think it's up to 51. It's null and void.
So the goal of the community, okay? Here's the community of people. They're all different kinds of people. They believe all different kinds of things, all based on all the baggage from all their lives, okay? All of them individually, collectively, and otherwise, okay? But they all have this one thing in common. They believe that the earth is flat, okay? So anytime you have a bunch of people who are together, they usually create some kind of a goal. And so in my mind, there can be no argument that the goal needs to be open, free exploration of our earth
as a first right.
Anyone and everyone who wants to do it.
As a first and sovereign right. As a first right.
As earthlings.
Yeah, that sublimates treaty law. That is a first right that you can't take away, of the right to exploration, like any of us has an instinct to do from the time we, like you said, can first crawl. That absolutely is a demand, I think.
And before any more years go by, while they've been down there creating that wall that they want us to believe is there, because I don't believe it's there, but you know, I'll stand corrected.
Spinning away on a paraglobe into outer space.
Okay, well, I'll stand corrected when somebody walks up against the wall and not just bunks into it like the Truman Show, but I mean like goes that way for 1,000 miles and that way for a few thousand miles, and there's still a wall, okay? Because if there's more, that changes everything.
Yeah.
If there's a wall, that changes everything, because now we know where we're defined into, and I really believe that will change people's perspective, perception, and belief system about a whole lot of other things. And I'm not going to go into that, but if there is more,
because it changes everything. Yeah.
And if
why would anyone want to suppress the truth? Who cares if it's round or flat? I've heard people say. Who cares if it's a ball?
How does it change anything? I know.
We've got problems. We've got unemployment.
Real problems.
Yeah.
I know. They'll understand when the time comes that sit down over there, people who don't care, okay? And those of us who care, just get out of our way. We just want to go that way for a whole lot further than we've ever been allowed to go that way before. That way and that way over there.
Every other way. Yeah, and I'll confess, it's distracting me from the upcoming elections. It really is.
Yeah, like you're going to vote. All that does is,
very sobering.
system that they snaggled us into believing in. Okay, well, Mick, thank you for doing this. And it was a spur of the moment, and I've had great fun and learned from you, and I hope you've learned from me, and I hope other people out there will watch this and it will spark a little bit of human curiosity for exploration and for freedom of our flat Earth. So I'll see you on Facebook, and thanks again.
Thank you for everything. Talk to you soon.
All right. Good night.